Some of those, when you first started growing your practice, you said you got, word of mouth referrals, and people coming from even out of state, right? Coming to your practice. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you started off in your business doing in the very beginning? What types of services were you offering, and how has that changed compared to the services that you're offering today? Like, what was the transformation?
Well, I started off just with speech and language pathology. And then the children that have difficulty speaking and understanding language also seem to have motor challenges, because speaking is a fine motor skill, but those children also started to have other fine motor difficulties. And that's where we brought in occupational therapy. And the children that don't easily make sense out of spoken language, and that also includes kids with autism spectrum disorders, also needed occupational therapy sensory integration, helping them to connect with their world and make sense out of incoming information.
So their ability to actually move physically is intricately or inextricably tied to their ability to speak.
Very often it is.
That's interesting. And so when a child comes in, you go through some sort of an evaluation with them? How do you do that? What's like how do you take them through the process?
They come in, it depends on their age. Mm-hmm. If they're under 5, they see me for an initial evaluation. I have other staff that do evaluations, and we decide what we think the root of their challenges is, and then what would be best practices for them. And very often they experience speech and language with us one-on-one, occupational therapy, sensory integration one-on-one, and then sometimes they really need group intervention. There are many children that don't understand social skills. They don't know how to have a conversation even if they can speak. And so we have special programs for them. We also have a very special program for children, especially with autism spectrum disorders.
And can you explain a little bit about what that is for anybody who's not familiar with that?
Autism is a group of children who have difficulty making sense out of incoming information. And they also have difficulty with social interactional skills.
When they have difficulty does the information just pour into them and they can't categorize it? Is that what?
I think that's a good way to put it.
Okay, to make sense of it.
And it's very difficult to read people, to put themselves in other people's shoes.
Okay.
And so we have a lot of services for them, but many of our children come in and they're not even vocal communicators at all that have autism. And we've taken children from starting them off with sign language and then bridging that to vocal skills. And we've had children walk in the door, not vocal communicators, and walk out the door being able to speak and experience and be integrated in a regular kindergarten.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. And even sign language, teaching them American Sign Language.
Sign language, yes.
So you have staff that spans the spectrum of everything you could possibly need relating to speech.
Well, I've always thought that that's the incredible thing about having your own business, is that you get to choose who you're going to see every day and work with. And I have an incredible group of mostly women. We do have one male. All right. Because I think that our field isn't a field that's male-oriented, but I think it's getting more and more that way.
And how have you found your team members? Because that's a big thing for entrepreneurs. That's one of their biggest risk factors is hiring the right people or the wrong people. It can that can really make a difference in your business, because somebody you hire and train could be your competitor tomorrow, or they could cause issues in your business or lawsuits or whatever. You got to find the right people that mesh with you. How has it been for you to find these people? What has it been like, or have they been just naturally attracted to you? I know some you attracted early on from Michigan or from Wayne State.
I think that people come to us, and that it's a very specialized business. And that I think because of our reputation, they know that they're going to have to really work hard, and it's a really quality place to work, and they choose to want to be with us. And also I think as an interviewer and somebody that's going to potentially be an employee, you have to use a lot of instinct.
Yeah, the gut instinct. Now, do you offer internships for some of the students at Wayne State? Can they actually serve or do some little stints at the Kaufman Center to get some experience behind them?
We have an observation program for students, not just from Wayne, but Michigan State and any other university. where we have them come once a month, and we have a whole program where they're observing and asking questions and being able to be paired with one of our staff. And then we actually have had some students from Michigan State University over the summer months, and they help us with group programs. This past summer we had an incredible group of students, and they've learned so much from past experience with us that they were really able to be more independent and establishing goals and choosing activities and executing them, and it was really
Do you have like a
proud
little
moment.
day camp kind of thing? Are they like
Yeah,
little day camps?
I would say that, yeah.
Like for a couple, do they come for like a couple hours and do activities with children?
Absolutely. Pretty much we'll have a half-a-day program, like a
Yeah,
2.5 hour a day.
Do you do things in the evening as well for parents who have to bring their children in the evening maybe because of work issues or kids are in school, or how do you do that?
We do have some support groups, and we also offer some in-services with other professionals and ourselves, teaching parents how to interact with their children and
because
how
you have to educate them as well, right?
Definitely.
It's not just the child, they have to understand.
get these skills carried over. We have observation rooms, and so sometimes when the parents are present physically, the child's too distracted. So they're able to be, you know, on the other side of that one-way
So they
mirror,
can-
and that's a nice
neat.
way to learn as well.
Oh, that's great. That's really neat. So they can see what's going on without the child, you know, hey, there's mom.
And then there are families that don't have these kind of specific services. And that's where we're attracting people from other states. So we've had to devise a program where they can come for 4 consecutive days, and we videotape or put everything on DVD for them to take back to their teams.
Oh, that's great.
In fact, next week we have a child coming from Switzerland who only speaks French. And his parents speak English. We've been talking and, you know, communicating through email because that's a very different situation to work with a child that doesn't speak English. But they're really eager to learn, and so they're coming out, and we're going to work with this child for 2 weeks. We've
So
had
will
children
you
from
translate?
Japan.
How will you do
well,
that? The child?
the parents are going to help out with that.
Okay, so they'll translate while you're working with the child. That's going to be fascinating.
And it'll be a nice introduction to another child who's coming from Puerto Rico who only speaks Spanish. Now, I have a little bit of background in Spanish, but it's interesting to know how to employ my techniques for children with the other languages. I have a program, it's my own, and it's called the Kaufman Speech to Language Protocol, KSLP. SLP actually means speech and language pathologist too. And I love coming up with creative names for things. But I do speak about this technique of how to help children to combine consonants, vowels, and syllables to become vocal communicators. And that's really driving people to our center as well. And that's what I speak about all over the country to mostly speech and language pathologists.
You know, some of the things that you're teaching, and I know they're for, you know, children that are having difficulties. Do any of the techniques that you teach, could they actually be taught in public schools to actually help children who don't even have particular problems, but could it actually help them in other ways, some of the things that you're teaching? Or is this really focused on children that are having documented, you know, maybe
Well, the
issues with
KSLP
it?
techniques are specifically for children who struggle to speak. Although a lot about it has to do with cueing and fading cues and using really powerful reinforcers.
And what does that mean? Can you explain that a little bit more?
A child needs to really watch our face, and they may not know where to place their lips or their tongue or their soft palate and get them organized and moving together. Even just to form one single consonant
Okay, so
requires a lot
sometimes
of movement.
Okay, even getting we take it for granted that we know how to create a sound.
Exactly. You
Okay,
don't think
they may
about it
not
at
know-
all.
Okay, they don't even know necessarily where the tongue needs to be or the, okay. So you're actually
So I
really
might
getting
go-
into the intricacies of actually the movement of the mouth and where everything,
Exactly.
that takes some intense work.
Just to make an O is really 2 motor movements. It's an O, but then you have to go to an oo. Oh. And so watching our cues is very helpful for them until we can then allow them to do it on their own automatically. It takes a lot of practice and repetition for the new movements and words to become automatic, and then they don't have to think about them anymore.
Now, do you make